The reason that so many people are bad at these roles is as simple as follows. What's up, this boys? So your boy just hit GM today, and well, some players are still. Oh my god. I don't understand. They don't know how to play DPS. They don't know how to play support. They don't know how to play tank. Luxfin, can you play DPS?
Which DPS? No, I can't, honestly.
You can play DPS, that's fun.
You don't. Wait, I thought you played DPS and tank.
I DPS with Venom.
You said you were a DPS tank man.
Yeah.
I think the lineup's fine now. We just gotta
In the past, I've made a Psylocke guide, but I figured I would make a comprehensive breakdown on how to play every single character, and this was inspired by a comment on my advanced Psylocke guide saying, remember guys, also know how to play Vanguard or Strategist as well, which is basically your tank and your healer. And a lot of people who know how to play one role or one character can't seem to play anything else. And if you get to Grandmaster or Eternal, where there's hero bans, or God forbid, someone else just plays your character, you're kind of useless. You just died so early. What was happening, guys?
I'm just trying out a bunch of different characters.
Is there any that you're good at?
Yeah, I told you, Psylocke.
Yeah, besides that, because I'm obviously popping off on her.
Yeah, I'd have 40 by now, that's all I'm saying.
Definitely, bro. 15 by 10 on a different character. Game sense, not transfer. So the key here that I'm going to teach you is a very core breakdown that's basic and advanced on how to play each role. Not your character, your role. First off, starting with tank. You have a character like Venom, very mobile. He can swing around and then slam down. Bam. And if you hit headshots, right? Wow, Venom does so much damage. You're a tank, so you should be frontlining, right? No. What you should be doing as Venom is swinging in, slamming on them, and in their backline, as opposed to Doctor Strange, where you're kind of in their face and shielding. But the thing is, both of them are tanks in their own way, and they're very impactful and useful. Your core role as a tank is to create space. Say this whole area on the map. As a tank, you want to take up as much as possible. Look, your team is getting shot. Bam, you're holding up your shield, and now you're keeping your team alive. All this space you're keeping up of the whole area behind you, your team can come up and occupy this space to beat their team. That's why hardly ever can you just have no tanks on your team, and why tanks are very helpful. Now, a lot of times people are like, oh, you have to have 2 tanks though. That's not always the case, but typically it's to help the tank also have someone else who can help them give space, so they're not the only ones taking damage, because 800 damage to absorb is not a lot when you think about it. Next, we have DPS, and it's pretty simple. My favorite character in the game is Psylocke. I think she's really fun, and she's a cool ninja. And now, there are DPS where they're, you know, what the hell? Black Panther, where you're like very backlining. You're like almost always on their backline. Or where they're like Scarlet Witch, where you're just bad. Or there could be like DPS like Hela or Hawkeye, where you're more of a long-range threat. You know, a long-range to mid-range threat. And your role as DPS is pretty simple. DPS, damage per second. You deal damage and you kill things. That's how it works as a damage dealer, right? I mean, it's not too complicated. That's why people like playing it. It's the most flashy. That's why like what, 1, 2, 3, 8 tanks, and then they got like a bajillion DPS, and then they got 7 healers. So it's clear which role people find most fun, especially when there's so many different heroes and villains that can suit that. But the thing is, a lot of people are still bad as DPS, and I'm gonna get into that. There's a reason why people are bad at these roles after I get into healers. So healers is pretty self-explanatory. You have healers that you need to aim, and look, you shoot your allies and then they heal. And then there's healers where you don't need to do that at all. You just tap a button and they're getting healed, and they have utility like sharing damage, so they take less damage. Or even, you know, just Sharky, who just pisses on people. You know, he got that Huck Tua spitty. But the thing is, all these characters, just briefly talking about their abilities, the reason that so many people are bad at these roles is as simple as follows. You don't stay alive. It's literally that simple. You don't stay alive. I'm gonna explain it like this, all right? Let's break it down. I'm gonna show you this example, all right? I know, nice shirt, right? So this is the example I'm going with. You wanna protect this body. This body is your core. And you have 6 players on a team. Pretend you have 5, like it's that trashy game Overwatch 2. We're not talking about that. This is Marvel Rivals, right? You have your arm, your 2 arms, your head, and your legs. You can protect yourself. You can bob and weave with your legs. But every time someone on the team dies, you either lose an arm or you lose a leg. So if you guys are down 2, you're hopping around. Now, could you beat someone hopping around on 1 leg? You know, you get a good hit in. Yes, you could beat them. You could take their core, you know, or you could take their arms out. But the thing you need to realize is no matter what role you're playing, whether it's a tank, a DPS, a healer, you need to keep in mind that every time you die, your teammate loses a body part. Now, example for Sharky, his ultimate ability is pretty cool. A lot of Sharkies, what they'll do is they'll use their ultimate, right? Bam. They'll eat someone, and then they'll just like kamikaze off the map. But it's not even a bad trade because you're losing 1 body part for 3 or 4, sometimes 2. You know, that's still a worthwhile trade in some ways, especially if you get their healers and their DPS. Now, this is my thing. You need to stay alive, but you also need to fulfill your role. And what is your role? You need to, as Venom, you know, you get damage, right? And then you go in the back line, you bam, and then you press your E ability, or console, it might be something else, to give yourself overshield. You need to create, so here's how you do it as tank. As a tank, you need to create space on the field while also staying alive. The main thing is staying alive. Create space, stay alive. If you're going like this, you dive on 6 people, and then you die. I'm creating so much space, bro, but I'm creating, it doesn't matter. You're dead. You're down a body park, and their team smells blood in the water, and they're going to capitalize on that. So you need to create space as a tank while also staying alive. Next, DPS. And good God, Lord Almighty. I've seen a lot of bad DPS. I've seen people at this rank of Grandmaster who don't know how to play DPS. All right, I'm going to show the clip. 3 for 12? I mean, obviously, it helps to have good aim. I might make a setting or an aiming guide eventually, but you want to have good aim. But the thing is, a lot of people overthink it. You don't even have to be getting kills in the terms of, oh, if I don't go 1v1 this guy and perfectly land every shot, I can't do anything on DPS. That is not true. In my advanced Psylocke guide, I talked about how even from a far distance, she doesn't have drop-off range yet. If you're playing any character, even a super powerful character like Spider-Man, a super difficult character like Spider-Man, where you have to go like, you have to land your E and then this, and then do the uppercut. You don't always have to get killed as much as you have to stay alive and do damage. Because if both teams are alive and they're both doing damage, but say you are very greedy.
Don't realize is don't die.
Exactly. If you're so greedy for a kill that you just go forward, overextend, and now you're the dead one, well, guess what? Your greed for kills made your team lose a fight. So as a damage dealer, you have the most access to a raw amount of damage. And now some tanks can do a lot of damage, like Groot. Groot has great damage, and he has decent range for a tank. But Groot doesn't have the same range as a Punisher, who can just beam someone from across the map, albeit with fall-off damage, but still beam someone. And then his healers, all the time, my healers, dude, he's on me. Oh, I'm sorry, I keep dying. Like, bro, I'm not saying the healers' things aren't real. Like, you know, the healers, if they're getting dived, they're getting dived. But a lot of healers that I've noticed play so far up. If the tanks are up and the DPS are up and they don't have a flanker, look, watch this, right? I can heal him. I can heal him from here. I don't need to be on him to heal. Because as a Psylocke, I always talked about, again, in the Psylocke Advanced Guide, how you're a roamer. So if I'm, you know, peeking at the tank, shooting, not really going in their back line, and I see the healer is right here, right next to the tank, I'm shooting the healer every time. You're telling me this healer is keeping this big guy with 800 health up and you only have 250? I'm shooting that every time. Every time. So, as a healer, stay back. Please stay back. Because you have so much, and Adam Warlock especially, like characters like Adam Warlock that don't have a lot of mobility, but they have a lot of utility. And that's basically it. Like, I don't really have to go on a ramble, because, you know, this is a guide, you know, a basic guide on how to play every hero. But basically, don't die. Don't feed. Stay alive, and picks will happen. That's literally it. Play with your team, DPS and healers, play behind shields.
You're so right.
Yeah, thank you. See, I mean, Stream, even he's saying I'm right. It's not that difficult per se. You want to make sure that you're playing where you need to be. DPS could be on payload, maybe a bit further up. Now, there are some certain exceptions like Black Panther and Spider-Man or Iron Fist that can be in the enemy backline, but if you're just going in and then dying, you're useless. The really good Black Panthers, the really good Iron Fists, the really good Spider-Mans can go in, get a pick, and sometimes they don't get kills. That's what makes them such great players, because they're going in, making the team look at them, and they're getting out surviving. So in a way, these DPS are making space. They're like, is a Black Panther behind us? Is a Spider-Man behind us? And even being a roamer as Psylocke, again, because I main this character, being a roamer, sometimes I play frontline, sometimes I play out the side angle, sometimes I play backline. They're like, oh, where's the Psylocke? Oh. It's like they're in a damn horror movie. They don't know where they're going to come from. And you could do that with different characters, even find a good angle at Punisher. But the key is stay alive. If you're greedy for kills, if you're greedy to create space, or even as tank, I've seen tanks, another issue is tanks that are too inactive. Go forward. Your healers will heal you, hopefully. And then healers, please don't think you're DPS. You're healers. Keep the team alive. You could DPS, but also heal. But yeah, that is it for the guy, you know. I'm streaming this live at twitch.tv/Atomfactor_ at the end. If you guys want to come check it out. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Deuces, boys.
It's been one hell of a ride.